Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Vietnam Crypto Insights. It's a here in Vietnam we're starting to get into the rainy season. It's
Yeah.
officially kicked off now. It's getting pretty wet, storms every day.
Oh, God. Yeah. I got stuck at the cafe for about 3 hours yesterday with my daughter, man. Luckily was able to pick up on the winds, man. The people here, they have a sixth sense, man, for when it's going to rain, man. When I first come here and I was riding down on the motorbike, a couple years ago, driving around. Um, I would have to wait and just see. I would pick and look at the people that were stopping on the side of the road to change, put the raincoats on.
They see it before it
And
happens, right? They stop
yeah,
before
I
and then
mean, they know. They know. But I've actually picked up a little bit on it because I told my daughter, I said, man, I don't think we're gonna make it home. So we was like, okay. She's like, yeah, I feel the change in the you could feel it, you could kind of sense when it's gonna rain because you feel the temperature, the slight temperature change in the wind. And you're like, okay, you know the dark clouds, you see the lightning. Okay, those are three telltale signs. So we just stopped at the cafe, man, and luckily we avoided all of that, man, because it's not fun getting caught when it's raining like buckets, man. I mean, it seriously rains here. It don't. I mean, I don't know if you ever seen that Forrest Gump movie
yeah.
where he's in Vietnam, where he's oh, it rains up.
Yeah.
Sometimes it rains sideways. Sometimes it rains. That's true, man. Oh man, rainy season. Good luck. Uh, but
Yeah.
just it's been a really hectic week in crypto too, man. You know, I, I, it's like whiplash. I mean, you have one day last week where they had consumer sentiment in U.S. Um, it tanked, and U.S. drives the world economy, kind of like Bitcoin drives the crypto economy. The U.S. market, the U.S. economy drives the world economy. But they had this huge study, I guess they did at University of Michigan. It was really terrible for consumer sentiment in America. It tanked everything, including Bitcoin and crypto markets. And just yesterday, it went back the other way because of the inflation report came. Inflation's ticking down. So that was actually optimistic. So the Bitcoin price and crypto price moved back up. So
Supposedly ticking down,
yeah, well, yeah, we don't
they
know. I
they
mean,
they're distorting those figures, but it doesn't
yeah,
matter. No one gives a shit. The market doesn't
yeah,
care. The market just wants to see good
yeah,
numbers, and
yeah, man.
it's all a
Sometimes people
charade.
don't do yeah. Sometimes there's always something behind the statistics, the books. I remember the first time I found out about how they did the stocks. Some of the accountants cooking the books, man. But they got the same thing that happens in just the regular world too, and in the crypto world. This is why I don't recommend doing any sort of day trading in crypto. So there's too many factors.
I'm just having a look at the chart, and technically it's looking pretty good. We had like this descending wedge in Bitcoin
Mhm.
from like May 14th.
Okay.
Wait, no, not May 14th, sorry. Yeah, yeah, 14th Bay. And we've broken up nicely past that. Looking quite good, the market structure.
Do you have the ability to share that? I know maybe you're not a chart guru.
I can,
Don't
but
you
my
don't have the
chart,
chart?
I do
You
have the
don't have the
chart, but my
chart.
chart's a bit messy,
Yep.
so
You don't have the charts on the ready like some of these guys with 50 charts, descending wedges and
yeah,
inverted.
I should have cleaned
I
up
was
my
watching somebody's analysis earlier. They said that we're in an inverted head and shoulders pattern too. I
yeah,
don't know if you see that.
I
I
mean
guess it depends on how far you zoom in or zoom out, man. That's the thing that kills me about trading because you never know how you can have two or three different patterns depending on how far you zoom in or zoom out.
well, it depends on what time frame you're looking at, I guess. I mean,
Yeah,
like
exactly. You can have.
I mean,
You can have a
technically,
weekly, you can
yeah.
have a monthly.
If you look at like that bottom pattern that we put in when we touched 15K, yeah, like that's formed a nice like almost a complete like inverse head and shoulders. And that's, that's triggered. I'm not triggered, but like, if you traded that on a really high time frames, I think you'd, and some people did, and they did really well, and they captured that, that move quite nicely. To be fair though, the last shoulder on that inverted head and shoulders was basically just that dump from like 25K down to 19K when USDC depegged, and Silvergate and those other banks like collapsed before the US government came in with that buyback program. So it was a very brief like weekend dump down to that level. So it was technically like on the bigger time frames, it wasn't really a proper shoulder on that final right shoulder before we started heading up. But the market's looking good.
Yeah, that's what always kills me about, how do you take into account the macroeconomic picture? Because, as we're just talking, there's so many other factors that come into play when it comes to crypto. I mean, the traditional market, of course, they've got a lot of different things that happen as well, which, you can't, you could still focus on the charts and do, I mean, I guess if you're halfway decent, you could do reasonably well with the charting and all that. But the problem, I think, with crypto is if you're doing any sort of short-term trading, there are just so many things that come into play. You don't know when they're going to pass a new law, a new regulation, or there's a new country that's going to come out with a ban, or a rug pull is going to happen, or a DDoS attack is going to happen, like with Solana, which has happened over like almost 10 times the past couple of years and shut the whole chain down. I mean, there's just so many things that can happen. Hello? Oh, there you go. There you go. You got the charts there. There
Yeah.
we go.
But yeah,
now we're getting into the deep weeds.
Yeah. I mean, you're 100% right. You're 100% right with everything you're saying. Like, it's like, to be honest, I haven't like I generally trade a lot during bull markets and in the past, but I haven't been trading a lot of this market because it's just been too hard to really find what's going on because there's so much macro news and macro events coming into the market.
Yeah, man.
And it's just like for example, like even like what I was talking about just before, like this move here when we're sitting at 25K and we just dumped, like, did you know that like how could you have predicted that the banks are going to collapse and then
Right.
USDC?
There's so many black swan events that happen in the crypto market that just throw everything off.
I remember that weekend, like I was like, oh shit, like I had stable coined a lot of my portfolio up around these levels. And I was like, oh, what do I do? Like, is this Luna 2.0 happening, but like with USDC because the banks have failed? And then it was over the weekend, right? So the Fed, like, sorry, not the Fed, the US government couldn't come back. They didn't say anything over the weekend. They did have that emergency meeting to figure out what they were going to do before they came out with the BTFP program. But that only came out like in the like this was Saturday, Sunday. So like it was only like really on the Sunday when they did come back with that program was when everything started pumping again. And it was unclear how the market was going to react to that. Like USDC depegged during this period, right? Because of that. And people were like, oh shit, like 30% of the US dollar, like their holdings were in these banks that collapsed. So the true value of USDC technically should have been like 70 cents on the dollar. So like, how do you trade? I know people that did trade it, but I genuinely
think I tell you the people that were successful, the people that were the congressmen and all the people that knew the inside.
Yeah. I mean of the retailers that were successful.
That's why some of those Congress people, they have millions in their portfolios because they have the inside knowledge.
Exactly. But of the retail people, I think the people that made money in that kind of just got lucky, and no one really knew what was going to happen.
No, man, you're not going to know. It's too difficult. I mean, there's so many macro things that the black swan events, everything's happening to do the trading, man. I think, in my opinion. I mean, I think there's some things that you can trade, like you were talking about last show, that the volatility before and after the Fed meetings. That's something that seems like been a constant.
Yeah.
There's certain events, certain macro events that affect, but just trading off a chart. And when it comes to crypto, man, I think it's just too challenging for me. That's why I've actually shied away from doing it, because there's certain things that happen just throw you. Like, who knew that there was another bank that just failed, like about a week and a half ago. And matter of fact, there's about another 183 banks that are on the verge of failing in the U.S. Which, when that happens, that's gonna cause a shakeout too.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
You just don't know. And then, we've got like the possibility of war coming on, which
oh my gosh.
could, who knows if and when that would happen. I mean, when I talk about war, like I think the function of war has really changed in terms of the way that we define it, because we have cyber war, we have social media war that's happening, technology wars that are happening, and trade wars that are going on. And when we look back on this period of time, I think we're going to say, well, like this is part of that. But then in terms of physical wars that are going on, I think that's obviously going to have an impact on the market. But just before I get off the chart, kind of just want to like just talk about some of the possibilities that I see going on here. We've had this really nice run up to 74K. We started forming this little ascending, descending wedge here, which is a nice little consolidation pattern. And right now, that was from like the 14th of March, sorry, not May. So it's been for a couple of months that we've just been consolidating a bit down to, I think we dropped like 26% in that time. And now we're sort of bouncing back on this fib level. What could be really nice is just seeing that nice little retest of around this level here. And from there, that wouldn't be a bad option to take in a long trade if you think that, we are going to head up from here. But, it still remains to be seen from this level here, whether we could just continue down and then consolidate further and just sort of flip-flop in this region for a while. I don't think, I think it would be premature for the market to just, consolidate here and just go straight up. I think it's
straight up, yeah.
we're gonna trade
Bounce
around
around
this
for a
region
while.
for a while. Before
One thing that I think is a constant, and it's always been consistent, is that we're going to go up for at least 12 to 18 months after the halving. That's something that if anybody wants to trade, there's a few links, I think, in the description you can actually go to, and matter of fact, you get $15 for USDT for a KuCoin. Want to trade that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Like there's, actually when we're consolidating and we're going sideways, if you can find the good, support resistance levels, it's possible to trade a lot in that chop and make money, but you have to kind of be careful and manage your risk with the way that you go about doing it. But yeah, it's definitely something that people can do and take a look at, have a look at, like as Terrence said in the description, and see have a look and test these
They
out.
give you $15 or 15 USDT for sign up.
Yeah,
KuCoin.
exactly. So get on that, take
New
advantage.
accounts only though.
Yeah, new accounts only. But yeah, I think the market is in for a little bit of a sideways price action. It's funny because we came here and everyone was so bullish that we were going to hit 100K, and then all of a sudden, all we've had, we talked about this in the previous episodes, but I mean, like now that we got the charts up, we might as well just have a look at this. Like literally from
Right.
here down to here, we've only had like a 24% correction. And if you look, for those of you that weren't around in past bull cycles, we generally had way worse corrections, like this is a 40% correction here, like on the way up, we've had another 40% correction here, then another 40% correction here, 36, sorry. It's pretty normal, like in a
Those
bull
are
run.
post-halving, right?
Yeah, this is all post-halving. So this was like the 2016, 2017 cycle, right?
Wow.
Really normal that you will have these massive corrections on a run up. like, last cycle was quite different in that we didn't really see that. So, in terms of like during the bear market when we hit 14K, actually we did have some like really solid consolidation here for a while, and bottomed out like 55%.
Now
And
that's 2000. What year was that? That's
so this is
2019.
2019, yeah,
Okay.
2019. And then even here, this was obviously the COVID dump, but
Yeah, yeah, that was a Black Swan event too.
even in that run up in 2021, we still had these big corrections. I mean, there was this was another huge one, right? A big 50% correction. So, it's pretty crazy when you look at this and you look at where we are right now. Like from this bottom down in like the very bottom of the market cycle. Well, yeah, the current bottom of this market cycle, 26 November 2022. Like if you look at these corrections we've had, it's only been 20%. It's another 20%. Even from here,
So,
it's only
so what do you
25%.
think? What do you think of this argument? I've heard a lot of people say this, that,
Another
because of
20%. Yeah, sorry,
because of
go.
the because of the big players. I mean, there's over 600 firms. There's actually some filings that were released, with these Bitcoin ETFs because they have to reveal their shares, holders and whatnot. Over 600 firms have invested in Bitcoin ETFs. So, I mean, I heard this argument that it might be different this time because there's so many institutional players invested, and it's going to cause like a dampening effect, where it's not going to be as volatile because there's so many players involved that are not, that are invested long term, and serious
Yeah.
investors that are, and so the volatility is not going to be as stringent. What do you think about that? You think that
Uh,
argument is valid?
I think there is some validity to that. But the reality is like when we hit 74K here again, everyone was talking about these inflows, but actually, if you look at the derivative markets, like the way that you want to look at this is that the reason, like, even when you look here, when we had this big 55% correction during April 2021, and then we had this big COVID dump, the reason that crypto markets do this and the reason that Bitcoin does this is because, unlike the traditional stock market, in Bitcoin, we don't have circuit breakers. So the US stock market and most other stock markets operate with circuit breakers so that if the price moves plus 20 minus percent within a session, the market will halt trading for 20 minutes. And basically what that does is it allows most of the volume in trading assets in any of these markets is driven by high frequency traders. And so basically what that does is it allows these markets to reset, and it allows all the managers of these bots to reset. So it prevents these huge oscillations in price. And then the other thing that happens is that you have limited access to leverage on a lot of the US stock market, especially now with retail. Like they've been limited to like 1x or 2x on most trading accounts, other
Oh,
than
wow.
taking options positions. Whereas in crypto, you don't have that same regulatory control. And so you can go in BitMEX and you can 100x long Bitcoin right now. And and you can do that on
Just
derivative.
don't just don't do like that teenager that had a negative. I don't know. He had a negative $300,000 account. Man, he ended up killing himself. Remember that a couple years ago?
Yeah, that was crazy,
That
and
was
like,
bonkers, dude.
yeah, I mean, that's the risk of when you're trading options, but like, just take,
Yeah,
just like the thing.
don't do nothing. I wouldn't advise anything like that.
No,
That's
you gotta be
that
careful
is
with options if you trade options. But like,
yeah, man.
a lot of these price movements in crypto markets is driven by the derivatives market. And generally what that means is like, when we have these big dumps here from this 50% dump, a lot of this is just because, so
People were
if you look at this.
people were being foolish and trading, and then they hit the wrong target, and then it triggered a mass shortage.
Yeah, exactly. So like, look, at this point, everyone, like, I don't know if for those of you in the audience that were around during this time, like everyone was so bullish and we were like, yeah, fuck yeah, we're gonna go 100K. Elon Musk bought Bitcoin. He bought like $1 billion of Bitcoin and Ethereum with I think it was Bitcoin and Ethereum with the Tesla treasury or something like that at the time. And then we had the shakeout. We had the shakeout down here, but like in the past, we've never seen during a bull market Bitcoin go below like 40%. And the market had gone up so high so quickly that literally like a 40% dump took us down to 40K. And what had happened was, as soon as we started having this, like, we had these shorts, we just had this massive liquidation happen here. And at this point, the market just absolutely completely shut itself. So I think it was like $5.8 billion worth of positions were liquidated. Like, this is not just losses, this is liquidated positions from high leverage positions that we're on. And if you were here during this time, and if you remember this, almost every single centralized exchange went down. And the only exchanges that were operating were DEXs that didn't fall apart during that move because it happened so suddenly. And so
Yeah,
because
they
of
had
the
enough
leverage in the system, like
liquidity in there.
yeah, like we were over $1 trillion market cap on Bitcoin, and we were able to still dump 50%. And so like, it's a long-winded way to talk
But there
about
was
like
some
what you
other
were saying.
macro stuff that happened as well, because didn't they have a couple centralized exchanges that fell during that
Uh
time as well?
this
But
that was around here. So in
kind of like a
April,
cascading effect though, right?
yeah, in April, that was more driven by just like over leverage in the market more than anything else, and the order
Right.
books just being too thin on one side. But like, right now, like the thing that's happening is like, I think you're right. There is a lot of spot buying of Bitcoin, but when we were here at 74K, we still saw that there was a lot of leverage in the system. And if you looked at the funding rates were very high. And the derivatives positions that were on a lot of these derivatives exchanges were also quite high. So I think it is still a bit of a misnomer that because I also believed it as well before I started looking at the data. And then I realized I was like, oh, actually, there's still a lot of leverage in the system. And I was expecting that we would have a much bigger shakeout here. I was thinking
Right.
we could easily hit like down to like 45, like in a bull market, a 40% drop is not unheard of. And that's the crazy thing about how quickly sentiment changed. And we only dropped 25%, when, as I was showing you before, this is very normal that we have these big 40 plus corrections in a bull market. So it's been an interesting watching this market, and that's where I haven't been trading it on leverage because I don't have an edge in this. I don't know what I don't want
Yeah.
to
I,
out.
I I don't see how you guys do it. I mean, like I said, there's a few things that I would trade. Like I said, the volatility post and pre and post Fed meeting, maybe. I have a good friend that's a trader. He's done trading in numerous markets, from the forex to he actually does an SPY, right? Some of the individual stocks. But one of the things that he actually says that of course we talked about all the different patterns and head and shoulders and vertical wedges and all these different things. He said the only one that's tried and true is the trend is your friend until the end.
Yep. Don't
That's
count
the
a
only
trend
one he
trade no
said.
matter what if you do
Yeah, he's
anything.
like, no, the trend is your friend until the end. I mean, he says keep it simple.
I think
So, but yeah,
yeah,
it's pretty funny.
it's funny because everyone was always like, even I believed at the time the ETF was going to be a sell and use event, and it turned out that it just brought way more capital inflows into crypto than we ever thought that we would see in Bitcoin.
Man, yeah, I mean, it didn't really hit the price. It really didn't hit the price until like a month or two later. It didn't really cause this shock that jolted everything up past the all-time high until like a month or two later. And it's I tell you, you have to really have your eyes on a lot of things to be able to trade in this market.
The interesting thing I think is going to be about this market is, to like your point before as well, is a lot of these inflows are coming into Bitcoin through the ETF. So in the past, Bitcoin was the conduit to get capital into crypto. And then typically what we would see is, you'd have periods of time where you'd get strength in the Bitcoin price, and then people would make money in Bitcoin and then rotate that into mid cap and low cap and small cap coins to make even more money. But now we're going to see a little bit of those dynamics shifting because a lot of that capital is coming from institutional players that are just holding Bitcoin. And so, for most of the retail that have been in crypto for a long time, that still haven't made it and still want to make it, they're not going to be holding Bitcoin and buying Bitcoin during this time. And so the dynamics of the way that capital flows from institutions isn't going to flow into altcoins. It's not going to flow into Ethereum until we get like an Ethereum ETF that's launched, right? And so it's going to be a real weird thing, because I think this is why we're seeing this concept of like meme coins are going up, but then you have like solid DeFi projects that actually are delivering good shit that are massively underperforming. So like, my strategy in this market is to have kind of like a barbell portfolio and have, some real, like, a lot of my portfolio in quite stable, stable blue chip tokens like Bitcoin and Ethereum.
Yeah.
And, some DeFi plays that I think will do well. And some of them I've gotten
Yeah.
in on like, seed rounds. I've gotten on really early, like, in private rounds. And then the rest of my portfolio, a larger portion of what I had in the previous bull market, is in some of these shit coins that are like, meme coins and stuff, because actually
Dude, they've actually been performing. They've been performing a lot better.
exactly, man.
Most
So
of
that's
the intrinsically good, fundamentally sound stuff.
yeah, because
There's a few fundamentally sound areas, like some of the RWA, some of the DPN, some of those some of those actually have been doing okay. But dude, the meme coins have been outperforming them.
And I think that's a function. I was talking to a contact of mine the other day who's been in crypto for about as long as I have. And we were kind of just talking about the fact that like the market participants that are still in crypto now are those that are very money focused. And I think it's less about, wanting to build DeFi applications that are going to change the world, because we know, I mean, there's obviously people that want to do it, but the actual retail participants want to make money. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day, the way that they're going to make money, it doesn't matter whether it's a solid DeFi project that has good fundamentals or whether it's a shitcoin, because most of us that have been around multiple cycles, we had retail that had no interest in crypto come into crypto and basically outperform our entire portfolios by buying Dogecoin when it was worth nothing, or SHIB when it was worth nothing, because it has a
Well,
Dogecoin.
and there's a certain amount of financial nihilism going on in the market too, as far as I heard one of the some analysts that was talking about this. We talked about this on our show a couple of weeks ago. When we were at the cafe right on the river. A lot of people are losing the hope they once had and been able to make it in a traditional way in these economies in the West. So they're hanging their hat on stuff that is non-traditional, or that might be a pie in the sky, but they're willing to go gamble a little bit to make those increasing returns. They're willing to go out on a limb, and that's why you see, I think, a lot of these meme coins taking off. It's, hell, there was even GameStop.
Dude, are we
Did you see
running
that?
2020 again? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of shocked. Didn't it, like, if like 100% like a day or two, I was like, man, this thing is booming like a crypto coin. What the hell's going on? But yeah, there's a lot of things that's going on in this market that's really just throwing everything off.
I don't know if this was
everything out.
I don't know if this was AI generated content. I didn't have time to verify it, so excuse me if I didn't verify this, but I saw an Instagram video of Andrew Tate being like, "Oh, these suits have this massive short position on GameStop," and it's like, they got like, I don't know, it's like a few $1 million or something, and he's like, "We're gonna fuck them over. I'm gonna buy a shitload of GameStop, and I'm gonna push these guys."
There's a guy, one of the main guys, man. He actually put 50 grand in it. I was reading about him. He's one of the main proponents of it. 50 grand in this a few years back, and I think he's up to like 40-50 million by now. Yeah, this guy's like killing it. About 5 minutes left. We got about 5 minutes left. Yeah, we got about 5 minutes left. Would you want to say wrap up stuff here?
Yeah, wrap up stuff. Like, look, I think the market is going to be going sideways for a while. I think there's some interesting stuff going on. Actually, we didn't get time to talk about this yet, but there's some like crazy events happening in Vietnam at the moment. GM Vietnam is going to be coming up soon. I went there last year. You know, they
I
had
love it.
Avalanche, Solana, they had all the big guns were there representing,
Of course, you won the
98.
hackathon, for Avalanche
Yes.
last year.
Yeah, that was my
Solo.
very
Well,
first
you
hackathon I
the
ever
man, dude.
entered.
You one and all. Came out just scorching them too.
Well,
Yeah, I remember you was telling me that story, man. That was incredible. Tell the story of we actually have you when you won that. It's in the introduction. We have a short clip of you when you won the prize, man. That's in the introduction video of our channel, man. That was kind of awesome. But yeah, tell the story of that, man, real quick. That was an interesting story. You came in and
Yeah.
just killed it by yourself.
Yeah, so I actually I only started learning Solidity at the beginning of last year, and I just finished a boot camp with Encode, and then I saw GM Vietnam was happening, and so I was like, okay, cool, I'm down. Like I wanna, I've never entered a hackathon. I've always wanted to enter one, but I've always been so busy with work, and I finally had time to do it. So you had 2 weeks to build something, and some of them had teams that entered, but I had this idea for a long time. I wanted to build like a supply chain management solution using blockchain to verify products as they go through the supply chain. So I come up with the idea. I'd spoken to some people about it, and like they were like, "Yeah, it's a great idea. I think you should focus on like this specific area and just like map out one of these user flows and try to implement that." And so I did. I wrote the smart contracts. I wrote the front end. I designed it all. I implemented it within 2 weeks. I basically I don't think I slept much over those 2 weeks. I think I basically did it all in about a week and a half, about a week and a bit, a week and a few days.
And dude, how many teams did you beat?
I think there was like 14 teams, I think, in the across all those tracks. So yeah, so
Oh my
there was one
God,
team
dude.
that had I think one of the teams that won one of the other prizes had like 7 or 8 people in the team. So yeah,
Man, you're beating teams.
pretty stoked that that worked out that
You
way.
like Michael Jordan out there by yourself, dude. You don't even need Dennis Rodman or none of the other people. You're just going out there by yourself, just killing everybody, man. That's crazy.
Thanks, man. But
Dude, are
yeah,
you going to enter anything this year? I mean, I know they got about 160,000 in prizes this year for hackathons this year. I looked at that and I was like, oh my God, they upped the ante this year.
yeah, actually, I will have to look into it actually and see what's around. But yeah,
Well, you got more than 2 weeks, so you should be able to go in there and kill it this time as well.
I'm working on a gaming project actually with my
Okay.
cousin, and so maybe there's some opportunity there for us to do something to get some more funding. We did enter a hackathon with it already, and we won, so that's how we got some
Okay.
money to build the product. But yeah, maybe there's some opportunities there. But yeah,
Yeah, you have more than 2 weeks, so you have plenty of time.
yeah, absolutely. But yeah, man, dude, you were at GM
Oh
Vietnam.
yeah,
Like, how good was the
yeah.
conference last year?
Oh my God, it had so many things, so many every. I mean, it was just so many events, so many side events. We're gonna go this year. Do we got
Yeah.
about 1 minute though? Did you have any other closing thoughts?
No other closing thoughts, but yeah, stay tuned, guys. We're gonna be live at GM Vietnam this year, so plenty of crazy events coming up soon. So we've got lots of exciting stuff lined up. A few interviews
Big,
too.
Bitcoin, yeah, we got a bunch of interviews. Uh, Bitcoin Pizza Day next week. So, and you
Yeah,
got an
stay
event
tuned.
for that. There's
Yeah.
another guy that's got an event here. But yeah, we're gonna be having a lot of that. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, you guys. And we'll see you next week again. Same time, same channel.
See you guys later. Have a good one.
Keep it coffee and crypto.
Yeah.